Hey guys, Snowflake here, and I'm going to be doing something a little different than the usual gaming videos you're used to. So, I will be doing a season preview, well, kind of, as the season's already started, for my favourite two football teams, Galatasaray and Manchester United. As you can probably see on your screen, I'll be doing the Galatasaray preview in this video. This is very different to stuff I usually do, so I'd be very grateful if you gave this a watch and I hope you enjoy it. So, last season, we'll start off with Galatasaray. Last season, we came at, I had to say, a disappointing fourth place in the league, having always been contenders for quite a few years before that, and well, actually, the year before that we did even worse, but being banned from Europe as well due to financial fair play regulations, we were expected to do a lot better in the league, considering we didn't have any distractions from Europe and we should only focus on the league. And unfortunately, we didn't do that well. We had a manager at the start of the year, Janold Riekerink, who was doing all right. We were up there. We weren't quite at the top of the league. We were about second or third, but in February he was replaced by Igor Tudor, who some of you might know. He was an ex-Croatian international player, played for Juventus a lot, but his managerial career has just gotten started really, and he was managing Karabakspor, who are also in the top league in Turkey. He was doing okay with them, but it's a big step to go from Karabakspor to Galatasaray, and unfortunately his style of play, which involves a lot of high pressing and fast-paced play, didn't really match the players at Galatasaray, and we ended up slipping down on the table and ended up finishing, well, actually, we ended up finishing fourth in the league, just below our rivals Fenerbahce, which was disappointing, to be honest. And in the cup as well, we barely made it out of our group, which should have been a lot easier than it was, and then got knocked out as a consequence by Istanbul Başakşehir, who has come out of nowhere to be quite a strong team in Turkey. One bright side, of course, we did win a trophy. We won the Super Cup at the start of the year. 2 years ago, we did win the cup, despite finishing pretty low in the table as well. I think we were 5th or 6th in the league. But yeah, we won the cup, so we qualified for the Super Cup, where we defeated league champions Beşiktaş on penalties, which was a good start to the season, but yeah, it didn't turn out too well after that. And our top scorer, who, as you might see under the transfer section, Bruma, is no longer with us. So that's interesting. The transfers this season have been very interesting. We've brought a lot of new players in, but also we've let quite a few key players go. So I'll go through those in further detail later. And you can see what the current table looks like so far. So we've made a really good start to the season. We've won all 3 of our games, scored 10 goals, and no one else has really matched that. So hopefully it stays like this. The team's looking in really good shape. You can see from our fixtures and results, we didn't get off to the greatest of starts, to say the least. We just about scraped into the Europa League after coming in 4th last season. We would have actually advanced straight to the next round of the Europa League if Konyaspor hadn't have won the cup, which sent them straight into the group stages. And Fenerbahce got the spot after that, and we got the last Europa League spot, meaning we had to start our qualifiers basically in mid-July. And we faced a Swedish team, Östersunds, who we were expected to beat quite handily, but they surprised us. And a team who was in the 4th league in Sweden a few years ago came out of nowhere and decided they'd show up against us. They were in mid-season, so they're relatively in good shape, and we were just coming into pre-season, but still, huge upset there. And actually, Östersunds, who have beaten us, actually made it all the way into the Europa League group stage, so at least it wasn't some kind of fluke that they beat us. They are actually a decent team. But anyway, so more detail about last season there. You can see the league table on the right, where we were tied on points with Fenerbahce for third place, but unfortunately, due to our head-to-head record with Fenerbahce, they finished above us. They would have finished above us on goal difference anyway. But yeah, we came fourth and we managed to get into the Europa League, having been banned from it the previous season for financial fair play stuff. The big shock of the season was Istanbul Başakşehir coming second in the league. They've really progressed a lot recently. They are government backed and they have a massive stadium, which, to be honest, hardly gets filled. And for that reason, a lot of people in Turkey don't like them. That they're basically the government's pet team, and there's a lot of politics going on around that. But as a football team, they did really well, and almost took the title off Beşiktaş, and Beşiktaş in particular looked very strong. They have a really good team, and they'll probably be our main challengers again for the league this year. But yeah, not the greatest of seasons in the league, but we started well this season, and hopefully we should finish at least second in the league this year, in my opinion. In the cup, well, that wasn't a great show either. I mean, we had to play a qualifying round before our group stage, as we didn't make it into Europe. Comfortable victory over a pretty lower league team, Dersimspor. And then we joined a group where all three of the teams in our group were not in the top league in Turkey, which was a strange occurrence, which meant it should have been an easy ride out, but every single team in the group managed a result against us. Elazığspor, who were on paper the second best team in the group, managed to draw with us. An Erzincanspor team from third or fourth division, they managed to draw with us as well. We even lost to Tuzlaspor, who ended up actually topping the group, which ended up costing us actually. It was a bit of a silly game, the Tuzlaspor game. We had a couple of players sent off in that game, and it was a pretty poor show. We did manage to get convincing victories against Elazığspor and Erzincanspor to ensure that we actually did make it through the group stage of the cup. But as a consequence of coming second in the league, we faced a team who had topped their group from another group, and that ended up being Istanbul Başakşehir, who knocked us out of the cup 2-1. Unfortunate stuff there. And of course we had the Super Cup, where we drew with Beşiktaş after extra time. We did actually take the lead in extra time, but they equalised. But we whitewashed them on penalties and claimed that. So, moving on to this season. So, we had a very active transfer window, spent quite a lot of money, which I'm not sure where it's coming from, as we're knocked out of Europe. We weren't in Europe last season, and we haven't historically spent that much money in previous years. We have sold a few players, which may be it, but we've certainly spent a lot more than we've sold, or when we've received from sales. So I'll go through each of the signings. So first of all, a player that Premier League fans may be familiar with is Bafétimbi Gomis, 32-year-old striker signed from France, and to be honest, he was quite a bargain. 2.5 million euros from Swansea. He was on loan at Marseille last season and scored 20-plus goals. A very impressive season for Gomis, and genuinely surprised that a player like that in this market was allowed to go for so cheap. And he looks like a really good player as well. He's a big guy, but he's not really known mainly for his headers, though he's okay at headers. He's also very good at getting in behind defenders and his link-up play with the rest of the team has been very impressive. And he's got 4 goals already this season, and I think he'll definitely get 20 plus by the end of this season for sure. So following that, we signed Younes Belhanda, a 27-year-old attacking midfielder from Morocco. We got him from Dynamo Kiev. He was quite expensive. He was on loan in France with Nice last year, actually. A bit of a surprise signing, to be honest. He will be replacing Wesley Sneijder, who left the club in controversial circumstances, coincidentally to Nice. So, yeah, Nice can say they replaced Belhanda with Sneijder. We replaced Sneijder with Belhanda. He looks a tricky player. I think the best is yet to come from him. He's got a couple of goals and assists so far. He's a tricky player. He's a good passer, a good dribbler. He does have the tendency, from what I've seen so far, to overdo it at times. But he's a hard-working player, and I think he'll come good with us by the end of the year. Next transfer, we signed Maicon, a Brazilian centre-back from Sao Paulo. Again, not a player I'd heard much about, but so far he's looking to business. I mean, he's a strong, decisive player. He's a leader at the back. You can always see him barking orders from the back, and he's the kind of player that we've been missing in Galatasaray for some time. We didn't really have that much leadership at the back last season, and we ended up conceding a lot of goals. And he's a pretty good passer of the ball as well, so always good to have a player that can distribute from the back. We'll see how he goes, but I'm encouraged so far. We've also signed Mariano, 31-year-old right back from Sevilla. And I'm surprised they let him go for so cheap, because he's looked really good so far. We've needed a proper right back for a long time, and I think we finally got one in Mariano. He's a bit on the old side, which is maybe why we got him from Sevilla, but he contributes a lot in attack, and he's got good defensive positioning, so I'm pleased with that one so far. Then we signed Papa Ndai, 6.5 million euros from Osmanlıspor, and the price of this transfer was a bit of a surprise, given that he's not exactly set the world on fire so far in his career. He came from Osmanlıspor, another team in the Turkish league, and didn't really play for any big clubs before that. But so far, he's shown why we spent the money on him. I mean, dare I make the comparison, he's like the Turkish league version of N'Golo Kante at Chelsea. He runs all over the pitch. He's an absolute menace to the opposition. And he's also an intelligent player. He knows how to pick a pass, and he's got a really strong work rate, which has been good for us so far. Only small criticism can be he could contribute a bit more in the final third, but as long as he plays the way he is now, he'll be definitely worth the money. I hope he continues in his current form. Then arguably, well, I've praised all of our transfers so far. Arguably our best one, I think, was Fernando, who we signed from Manchester City for just over 5 million. He looks very good in the holding role in front of the defence. He's always in the right place at the right time. He's a great tackler. He reads the game so well, intercepting play, and also he's a good passer of the ball. And he looks like a leader that can drive our midfield to 2 levels above the way it was last season. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Fernando will play there. Then finally, we've signed Sofiane Feghouli, 4.25 million euros from West Ham. It'll be interesting to see how he fits into the team. Feghouli came to us with a bit of an injury, and he hasn't actually played for us yet. But after the international break, we should see Feghouli in action. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can offer us. But yeah, another good signing on paper, but we'll see how he plays on the pitch, and if he actually does start for us, given we've been playing so well without him so far. But of course, you can't have a good season with so many transfers in without some players also leaving. So quite a few big players on that list of players leaving. One of them being Lukas Podolski. He'll be playing in Japan for a couple of million. I think it was probably the right time for Podolski to go. He's been a fantastic player for Galatasaray, a fantastic goal scorer, but doesn't quite have the work rate in the legs to play our style of play at the moment. So I think it was the right time to go, but he's definitely been a fantastic player for Galatasaray. Very underrated, and he was a one player that you could count on to score a goal wherever he had the ball. And he'll be missed. We also let Aurelien Shegju go on a free transfer to rivals Başakşehir. I don't think we had much of a choice here, to be honest. He was at the end of his contract, and over the last couple of years, he's certainly seemed like he doesn't want to be at the club. Although before that, he was probably one of the best centre backs of our history. Aurelien Shegju, fantastic. Cool as you like defender, great at passing, could dribble with the ball from the back, always intercepting play and just adding a sort of calmness to the defence that we didn't really have before. But yeah, as I said, last couple of years he hasn't been playing well. He hasn't looked like he wants to be at the club, and so he has left on a free transfer, unfortunately. Sorry. And then another big transfer was Sabri Sarıoğlu, who has been our starting right back for a long time. He was part of our UEFA Cup squad in 2000. He's been our longest serving player and was our captain. And he's been a running joke among Galatasaray fans that we've been looking for a right back for years to replace Sabri. We spent so much money, but every single time Sabri has proved to be better than whichever right back we brought to replace him. But I think now that we have Mariano, I think Sabri moving away was probably the right move for him. I would have loved to keep him as a backup, but fair play to Sabri, he deserves to play, and he's joined Göztepe, who have just been promoted to the top league in Turkey. And I watched the game of Göztepe. They played against Trabzonspor, and Sabri played really well. And I think he's been a good signing for them and will continue to be so. And then one I'm really sad about, Armindo Bruma is no doubt our best player last season. So many goals, so many assists, and we kept faith in him after signing him a few years ago. He didn't have the greatest of starts to his career, but really exploded into life last season. He was single-handedly winning us games, getting goals, getting assists, and naturally when a player does that, clubs from Europe start looking, and in the end he's joined Red Bull Leipzig for 12.5 million euros, which I think we could have got a bit more for him, but his contract was ending next year, so we had to sell him now or never, to be honest. But hopefully the players we brought in will be able to replace Bruma, and it's a good move for him personally to go to Red Bull Leipzig. I've seen his first goal for them, actually. Very good goal for them. Next up, we sold Semih Kaya, Turkish centre-back, 2 million euros to Sparta Prague. Well, there was once upon a time where Semih Kaya was considered one of the best prospects in Turkey. He was part of our squad that made it to the Champions League quarter-finals. He formed a great partnership with Thomas Uchvalusi, a Czech centre-back, and they really worked together. And there were talks at one point of Manchester United even being linked with him. He was that good. But he did suffer a lot because of his style of play. He got into tackles, he got into collisions, he suffered more than a few concussions. And in the end, his play declined rapidly. And to be honest, he hasn't been that good for Galatasaray in recent years. I'm surprised anyone wanted to buy him, let alone Sparta Prague. But hopefully he can revive his career there. And the only bad thing for us is that due to the foreign rules, and we've got a team full of foreign players at the moment, any semi-decent Turkish player we should keep, really, as we have to have 7 of them in our squad every every match. So it might have been good to keep Semir, but we have other players at centre back, so it's not too bad. Next up, very controversial transfer. So Wesley Sneijder leave Galatasaray and join Nice in France on a free transfer, despite him having time left in his contract. Sneijder, you have to say, one of the best players in Galatasaray history. Countless goals, countless assists, and a fantastic leader on the pitch as well. He really tried his hardest every game, but like Podolski, doesn't have the legs to play our style of play under our new manager Tudor, and had some disagreements with the board. And it's a really shame the manner in which he left the club. He was a fantastic player and deserved at least some, like his own testimonial or something to commemorate him, but unfortunately he left due to disagreeing with the board. And I would have loved to see how Sneijder fits into our current squad, as we haven't had the greatest squad for the last few years, and I think Sneijder would have been great among those players. But we have to deal with it. He's moved on. We signed a replacement, and we have to hope that he lives up to Schneider's incredibly high standards. And finally, we let go of our backup goalkeeper, Cenk Gönen, who has joined Malaga for a very small amount of money. Not too bothered about this, but if Muslera, our star goalkeeper, gets injured, we don't really have a great backup keeper. Cenk was a good backup, I think, but our backup goalkeeper now, Eray Hiscan, never really proven himself to be a good goalkeeper, but I hope he proves me wrong, or better yet, I hope Muslera doesn't get injured and simply plays all the games. So far, Europa League, well, I say so far, but that's it. We've already been knocked out of the Europa League to being taken out in 2 legs by Östersund of Sweden. I watched the first leg. We were, to be honest, outclassed. Östersund hit us on the counter a couple of times and we just couldn't deal with them. And it was a poor performance. In fairness, only 3 of our signings had joined at the club by this point: Maicon, Belhanda and Gomez. So most of the deficiencies we had in our team were still there. And it was a poor performance. Second leg I didn't watch. I saw the highlights. Again, we were trying to break them down and couldn't. Gave away a penalty, and then we got a free kick equaliser for Ahmed Çalık, but we would have needed 3 more goals to progress through to the next round. So really poor showing over 2 legs for Galatasaray. But fortunately, we picked it up in the league, where once all of our new players joined, we finally started to look like a great team. We started off as we meant to go on against Kayserispor, a convincing 4-1 victory. Tolga Ciğerci scored the first goal after fantastic work down the right by Gary Rodriguez, and he put a fantastic cross into the middle, which sort of bounced off Tolga and went in, but I think we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say he meant it. And so it was Tolga's first goal for Galatasaray, despite being at the club since the beginning of last year. Tolga's a sort of a centre midfielder, although he's been playing in a more attacking role so far this year. So yeah, that was his first goal for the club. Fortunately, we let in an equaliser, a classic Galatasaray not being able to defend from set pieces. It was Tolga actually who was guilty of losing his man, as Levent Gülen headed in an equaliser for Kayserispor. But fortunately, it didn't take us long to retake the lead. Our first of our new signings got straight off the blocks. It was a really good goal by Belhanda actually, mainly for the build-up. A lovely cross in by Mariano, our new right back. Gomez with a perfect touch into Belhanda's path. And Belhanda with a fantastic goal to lift it over the goalkeeper. You can see him celebrating in that picture to your top right. And then straight away we scored again. Another good pass, this time Belhanda was providing, and Gomez played with a beautiful turn past 2 defenders and then blasted into the bottom corner to get his first goal for the club. An important one too, as he seemed to be lacking a bit in confidence after the Europa League games. Then Kaiser, we continued pressing and we had a lot more chances to score. We could have been more than 3-1 up. Kayserispor did go down to 10 men with 5 minutes to go. Gary Rodriguez had ran past Thiago Lopez, who was the last man on the counter-attack. Lopez pulled him back, or not pulled him back, bumped into him and fouled him, and he got his second yellow card and was sent off. And then shortly after that, a fantastic ball by a left-back, Martin Linez, sent Gomez through on goal, and he absolutely blasted it into the roof of the net for a second of the game. And it was a good, fantastic start to the season for Galatasaray, although, bearing in mind, Kayserispor is not the toughest of opposition. So, maybe not as good as everyone was thinking. But then we followed up in the second game. Osmanlıspor, known to be a tough team, they actually did really well in the Europa League last year, actually progressing past the group stages. I can't remember if they got to the round of 32 or round of 16, but they did really well, Osmanlıspor. But today we were just too much for them. We had Ndiaye, who had just signed from them, playing against his old team. But yeah, unfortunately I only managed to catch the highlights for this game. But again, it was the same as usual with us pressing and getting loads of chances. We took the lead thanks to Maicon heading in a corner from... I don't remember who took it. I think it was Belhanda who would have taken it. But it was a good header by Maicon to score his first Galatasaray goal as well, to give us the lead. Then some fantastic work by Gary Rodriguez down the right. He blasted a low cross in, which Gomez smashed into the roof of the net. Third goal in 2 games for Gomez, on terrific form. And then, all of a sudden, Tolga Ciğerci, who had never scored for Galatasaray, scores his second goal in 2 games. With a fantastic finish, you have to say, from the edge of the box, after just squeezing past his marker. Osmanlıspor got one back. Again, poor defending from a set piece from Galatasaray, so Serdar Gürler loads of space, and he had a simple tap in after it was knocked back across the centre. But again, we looked comfortable, and another 3-1 victory saw us 6 points out of 6. And then recently, last weekend, we've played at home to Sivasspor, and once again we played just as we should have. All of a sudden, our main man Tolga was there again to score the first goal of the game. The corner was swung out by Belhanda. Serdar Aziz, our centre back, headed it across. Gomez then had flicked it on really well for Tolga to smash it into the goal to give us the lead. His third goal in 2 games. He then scored again in the second half after the ball fell to him from a Linez cut back on the edge of the box. He blasted it a goal. Well, he placed it into the corner, but it had enough power on it. The goalkeeper got a touch, but he couldn't stop it, and he got his 4th goal in 3 games. Impressive play by Tolga. And late in the game, we got a penalty after Ndiaye tried to bring the ball down, but it was handballed by a Sivasspor player. Ndiaye wanted to take the penalty, but Gomez wanted to keep his 100% league record and got his 4th goal in 3 games after sending the goalkeeper the wrong way from a penalty spot. And that's it. 9 points from 9 in the league so far, and doing well. So this is what our best 11 looks like. We have Muslera in goal. All hail Muslera. Our official captain at the moment is Selçuk İnan, our long-standing centre midfielder, but he's hardly in the team these days, so Muslera is basically our captain at the moment. But he's an outstanding goalkeeper. Really, I think he's one of the best in the world, and I'm surprised Galatasaray has kept him for so long. But he seems to really love the club, and I hope he stays here for the rest of his career, to be honest. If he gets injured, we're in big trouble. We don't really have a good backup goalkeeper. Right back, we have Mariano, who we've just signed from Sevilla. Veteran right back, and he's looked like a good player so far. We have Linez, who's actually typical right back. You see him there at left back, but He can potentially play backup for Mariano. We also have Tyler Chamdal, who's just come back from loan. Not the best player, but third choice right back probably. Will probably get away with that. We got Maicon and Serdar Aziz as centre backs. Maicon, who we just signed, he's looking like a mainstay in the team. Leader, aggressive, wins the ball, great at headering. He seems a complete centre back, and I'm really glad we've signed him. Serdar Aziz, we signed from league rivals Bursaspor. He was captain there. We signed him last season. Suffered a lot of injuries, but the potential is always there, and he's looked good so far. A potential lapse in concentration, but on the whole, he's been good. We also have a lot of young Turkish players as backup. We've got Ahmet Çalık, and we've got, who was previously captain of Gençler Birliği before he joined us. And we've got Koray Gunter, a young centre-back we signed from Borussia Dortmund. So we have backup there. We've got Martin Linez at left-back for the moment, although there are strong rumours that we're about to sign Kwadwo Asamoah from Juventus, who will probably play in that position, while Linez will play as backup to both right-back and left-back. We also have Lionel Carroll, a French left-back, who I have to say looks like he's on his way out. Talks of a loan deal to Sevilla. We'll see what that happens, but if we sign Asamoah, I don't see how Carroll will force his way back into the team. But yeah, some good competition for that left-back spot at the moment. In centre midfield, what an improvement we've made at centre midfield. Last season we were playing with Selçuk İnan and Tolga Ciğerci at centre midfield, and Nigel de Jong at times. I think Tolga was injured a lot, so we'd play Selçuk and de Jong most of the time. But they were older players, they were on their last legs, not doing too well. But we brought in Fernando and Ndiaye, and the transformation's been incredible. Fernando reads the game so well, he's everywhere on the pitch, same as Ndiaye. Ndiaye really works hard. Fernando reads the game. It's just fantastic for the transformation we made so far. And it's allowed everyone at the front to not worry too much about defending and attack like they mean it. On the right wing, we've got Gary Rodriguez. He's being charged with filling the gap that was left by Bruma. He joined us in January last year. He's got a lot of raw potential. He's got great skills and speed. But his end product was lacking at times. But he's got some really good assists so far this season, and he's been unlucky not to score. And he'll have to probably battle out for his place with Feghouli, who's just come in. But I don't see why we should change the team that's won so many games in a row. So hopefully he continues. On the left there we have Yunus Belhanda, who is our big money move from Dynamo Kiev. He's probably best in the centre attacking midfield position, but he's been playing on the left so far. Creative player, good passer, good dribbler, overdoes it at times, but I think he'll come good. And Tolga, attacking midfield, who's been transformed from last season, to be honest. I think mainly due to the teammates he's playing with that have really brought out the best in him. But Tolga's been at the right place in the right time to score goals and has had the chances to score more. He's become a very important part of the team so far. And up front, Gomez has been exceptional as well. Apart from his tendency to get caught offside a lot, he does get in behind defenders a lot. Great strength and speed, and can head the ball and hold it up as well. Does everything you can ask for from a striker, to be honest. So some talking points. So Jason Denayer, who probably not too well known, but he was on loan at Galatasaray 2 years ago. He's at Man City at the moment. He was at Sunderland last year in that disastrous season where they came bottom and were relegated. He actually did want to join Galatasaray on loan last season, having joined the season before, but Pep Guardiola wanted him to get Premier League experience, so he went on loan to Sunderland instead. But it looks like, as you can see, he's at the airport, so Denayer's looking like he's about to sign for us. He's Belgian international centre-back, he's young. His old teammate Fernando is at the club. And yeah, from what I've seen of Denayer, He's a very good player. He was a very good player at Galatasaray. He was ball-playing centre-back. He was physical, strong, very athletic as well. But he wasn't that good at Sunderland. He was being played out of position a bit in defensive midfield. I don't think he'll be playing there for Galatasaray. He could, I don't know. But hopefully he'll be able to recapture his form at Galatasaray. And he probably is a lot happier at Galatasaray than he was at Sunderland. So I'm really hopeful that he can come good. However, we do have a lot of foreign players in the team at the moment. And we are getting to the point where there's only 11 of them allowed in the matchday squad. And we will have to start cutting players from the team, which is hard to do. They're all good players, but will it be Denaya who has to work his way into the team? I think probably, yeah. And we've also got quite a few young Turkish centre-backs that won't be playing as much if Denaya starts. Hedaz is Ahmet Çalık and Koray Gunter. And yeah, we're getting to the point where there won't even be a Turkish player in the lineup, which is not going to be very sustainable if we need to buy more players next season. Lionel Carroll, potentially leaving on loan to Sevilla, was about to enter his third season with us. He was our first choice left back for a lot of last season, but now he's lost his spot to Martin Linez, even though Linez is actually a right back. Him leaving means Kwadwo Asamoah can come right in and become our starting left back. It'll be a good experience for Carroll to go to play Champions League football, potentially. I hope he does get that chance. And he would clear a foreign spot for another player. Bad news is, I do like Carroll. He is a good player. He came from the French second division. No one knew who he was, and has been a solid left back for us. But has played with left wingers like Podolski and Yasin Öztekin, who haven't been that hardworking and made it difficult for him to defend as a left back. But I think he's been a good player, and I hope he has a future. But if we get Asamoah, I probably don't see it happening. And he'll probably only be a backup player for Sevilla. He might break his way into the team, but probably not. Kwadwo Asamoah, negotiations in progress. This is looking very likely now. He played 100 plus games for Juventus, won 5 Serie A titles, 3 Coppa Italias, was runner-up in the Champions League, and he's very versatile. Apparently he can play at left back, left midfield or centre midfield. And he fits exactly the profile of player that Igor Tudor would want. He's physical, hard-working, has a lot of stamina. And he's good on the ball as well, from what I hear. So I'm very excited to see what he does at Galatasaray. Bad news is he is injury-prone. He was out for a lot of the last couple of years due to injury. He'll be quite expensive, and again, I'm not sure where we're getting this kind of money from when we're not in Europe. But I'm not complaining, I'm a fan. It's not my job to decide where the money goes. And again, we'll be exceeding the foreign players limit. We'll have to get rid of someone to make way for Asamoah, probably Carroll. But if we don't get rid of them, then we're paying people for nothing, essentially. Right, offers received from fellow Turkish league clubs, Akhisar and Göztepe for Ryan Donk. So Donk joined us in January 2016 from Kasımpaşa. He looked good in his first couple of games, but then his performance levels dropped. He wasn't trying hard enough, and fans actually turned on him after only a couple of months for his poor performances. And it's fair to say he's not really that welcome at Galatasaray, unfortunately. He was on loan at Real Betis last year, and due to the foreign players limit, I don't see any chance of him getting into the team, especially with Tolga, Fernando, and Selçuk Inan all ahead of him in centre midfield, so he probably wouldn't get any games anyway. Akhisar and Göztepe are not big threats in the Turkish league. They're not expected to do anything, so if we sold him to them, it probably wouldn't come back to bite us. But one thing, I do feel sorry for him. He joined Galatasaray at a time where we weren't playing very well, and he was criticised very quickly and not given much time to settle in. In that way, I feel sorry for him, but we have much, much better players now, and there's no way he's going to break into the team, so probably the right move to sell him. If we can get rid of him, we've only received offers. Who knows, the deal might not go through and we'll be stuck with Donk. Well, another player on his way out, another Dutch player on his way out, Nigel de Jong. So de Jong, a lot of you will know him for his kung fu kick on Xabi Alonso in the World Cup final. But de Jong was a solid centre midfielder for us last year. Solid if unspectacular. But he was playing with Selçuk a lot of the time last year. But he is getting older, and it does look like he's going to be leaving the club. And due to the foreign player limit, even as a backup option, it's a bit far-fetched to keep him for what he's earning at the moment. Very outspoken about the way the club treated Wesley Sneijder. Obviously, them both being Dutch, were probably good friends. Sneijder probably would have had a part to play in convincing de Jong to join us last year. But yeah, he's unhappy with the way they treated him. Apparently, I don't know if this is true, he told Gaël Clichy, who left Manchester City on a free transfer this year, he told him not to join Galatasaray. And Clichy ended up joining our rivals, Başakşehir. So controversial there. You shouldn't be doing that while you're employed by a team, but that's probably one of the reasons why he's on his way out. And old Ajax legend Edgar Davids has expressed that he wants to see Nigel de Jong back at Ajax. And this is probably a feasible move for him to go back to the club where he started at. So yeah, that's Nigel de Jong. Emre Başaran, who's a backup attacking midfielder, in talks for a loan with Antalyaspor and Alanyaspor, who are also in the top league. He'll get more playing time at either of those teams than he would at Galatasaray. He's already spent 5 years at Antalyaspor. But we do need 7 Turkish players, and losing Emre would mean losing one of our best backup players. I think he's a promising player, and I think he deserves a chance, or at least coming off the bench in the first team this season. We don't have that many good Turkish players right now, so I think we should keep Emre, but it's not really good for him to be sitting on the bench and not getting playing time. And of course, there's no rule in the Turkish league about players not playing against their parent club. So if Emre was to join Antalyaspor, we would be facing his team next in the league on the 9th of September. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Next up, one of my favourite recent memes. Is that really Tolga Ciğerci? I'll translate the text on that picture. So the text says, Bakalım Tolga Ciğerci kimmiş? Basically means, we'll see who Tolga Ciğerci really is, basically. Because, in Scooby-Doo, where they take the mask off, the scary mask off the villain, and they find out who the real monster was. So, because of Tolga Ciğerci's performances so far, they thought he was Sneijder undercover. I saw the joke in that, but yeah. Before he joined us, he'd scored 4 league goals in the last 7 years. 3 of those goals were for Wolfsburg's second team, and I don't know what division they play in Germany, but probably 3rd division or something. But he's already scored 4 goals in 3 games, and has had chances to have had more. And who knows, he might be league's top goal scorer at the end of the season. We signed Fernando, we signed Ndiaye, we signed Belhanda, and everyone thought that meant no more Selçuk Inan, no more Tolga. But Tolga's started in the team, and looks like he's going to stay there for the foreseeable future. He's been playing well so far. He's playing really well with other players who can match his work rate. So, Ndiaye and Belhanda are hard-working as well. They run around, cover a lot of ground. Whereas you wouldn't get that from Selçuk Inan or Sneijder. Definitely something that I've noticed so far this season. Hopefully that continues. And whether he does seem to be a little bit overconfident at the moment in a tougher game, that might be a bad thing. He might give the ball away and it might lead to a goal. He might try things that he shouldn't, but hopefully if he continues the way he's going, no problem. But it is something possible that could come back to haunt him. And of course, great that tall guy is goal scoring, but we don't want to rely on him too much, just in case, because that's not what his goal scoring isn't what his main role is. He's meant to be a guy that runs around, wins the ball, and enables the more attacking players like Belhanda and Rodriguez to do what they want to do. Next up, Cavanda, Donk, and Hakan Paltar training separately from the first team. So Cavanda signed for us from Trabzonspor last year, and to be honest, didn't do well at all, and was quickly dropped from the first team. One of those right backs I mentioned earlier that we bought to replace Sabri, but never actually replaced Sabri. So yeah, and with the foreigner limit as well, there's not really much of a chance for him or Donk to join. Hakan Baltar has been at the club for a decade now. He's been a great player for us over the years. Another calm centre-back who definitely used his experience to help us well. But he doesn't have much pace, he's not that strong, and was showing a lot of errors in his last season. So it's a shame his career is ending with him being forced to train away from the first team and no one offering for him, but hopefully his life goes well. I don't see him joining another team after Galatasaray, but who knows? Alright, so we've got Feghouli returning from injury after international break, but will he come back into the team? Or will he come into the team when he comes back? One argument is, why change a team that's winning? We played the same 11 for 3 consecutive games and won each of them convincingly. So will Feghouli have to work his way into the team off the bench? I think probably, yeah. The team is doing so well, and it's going to be really harsh to drop anyone because everyone's played so well. Feghouli, very talented, will no doubt break into the first team. Probably an upgrade to Gary Rodriguez in the long term, but for now I think we should keep Rodriguez in the team as he's playing so well. And it's great that we have this competition in the team. It's going to push players to be better and hopefully have a really, really strong season in the league this year. Final talking point for this video, and then I'll leave you alone and stop annoying you guys with my voice, is the big one. Should Wesley Sneijder have gone, or did he still have a role to play at Galatasaray? In my opinion, I would have loved to keep Wesley Sneijder. I think in the last few years, our squad's been below par, to be honest, and it's been individuals like Sneijder, Bruma, Podolski, Muslera, who were, to be honest, carrying Galatasaray for what little we did do well. It was those 4 players that really shone for us. And I think in the team we have now that we have great players all over the pitch, I think Sneijder would have done really, really well. But oh well. He has left, unfortunately. He was on a lot of money. But he was the assist leader of the league last season, and Belhanda has a lot to live up to if he's to live up to what Sneijder did. But we have to have faith that he can do it. I haven't seen Belhanda play before this season, so one can only hope. He's a great leader on the pitch as well. Drove everyone around him to perform so much better. I think we do have a couple of players like that now in Maicon and Fernando, but probably not on the level of Wesley Sneijder. But on the other hand, he's getting older, and again, he's not a very hard-working player off the ball. Didn't have the work rate to play our pressing style, which we do have now with Belhanda, so that was probably one reason why he left. And he is on high wages and had a lot of disagreements with the board. Interestingly enough, I've seen criticism from Nice fans for the way he's played so far for them, so maybe it was the right move. Honestly, from a pure fan's perspective, I would have loved to see Sneijder stay at the club. Yeah, that's it for my sort of season preview, where the season already started for Galatasaray. I'll do another one for Manchester United. Hope you guys enjoy, and maybe I'll do this again sometime. See ya.